Today we're creating ourselves another rogue as we're heading towards the final mastery to try out the Falconer. Our main focus for the rogue though will be throwing shurikens. We're gonna create ourselves a ninja. And it works really well because this is a throwing attack and the Falconer mastery also has other throwing attacks like the net here and the explosive traps. Yep, we're gonna set up traps as well. We're turning into a respectable shinobi. And what a respectable shinobi, if you've seen Naruto, doesn't have a summon, right? So we're throwing in this falcon, which is part of the mastery, and we're gonna try it out. Hopefully it's going to work really well together. The guidance at level 4 feel like the perfect place to have our very first discussion about the build. I specialize in shurikens and I've taken a look around the tree. I know some of the skills which I want to pick up, but I think it's a bit more important to tell you what skills I don't want to pick up because it doesn't work with the team which I'm going for. For example, the chakram here. It turns out shurikens into chakrams, increase the size, damage, and chakrams return. Interesting as a skill or an upgrade for this skill, but I don't want to pick it up because it doesn't really tell me ninja or shinobi, right? The chakrams are an Indian weapon. It's it's not Japanese or anything close to that. So I'm not gonna go with this one. I don't know, or I don't think I'm going to go with Deadly Aim either, at least not for early game. It would throw our shurikens in a line rather than a cone, and it would reduce our projectiles by 50%, which I don't really want at this moment. So I want to throw plenty of these shurikens. I think that's going to look a lot cooler. Throwing stars over here would throw the shurikens all around us rather than in a cone. I might be going for this. I'm not 100% sure at the moment, but I think I might be doing that. And what I don't want to do is this one, the blade shield, where shurikens cast around us form sort of a shield which lasts 3 seconds. Definitely not something that I'm going for. I want to go for these additional shurikens. There's more additional shurikens up here, and I like that idea, right? So we're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with a bit of attack speed, just enough to get here to Fan of Blades, getting those plus to shurikens. As far as equipment goes, I kept some items in our stash. For example, here, plus 5 throwing damage, minus 3 to throwing attack mana cost. I have another ring which does plus 4 throwing damage and minus 3 to throwing attack mana cost, which means that these are free, which is great for us. And I also have the armor which turns our shurikens, converts 76% of our critical damage or our shuriken damage into lightning damage. I'm just gonna show you the skill without the modifier, and you can see we're throwing 3 shurikens. I want a lot more than that, and we're gonna get it. But this armor is going to provide us with plus 11 lightning damage with shuriken and the conversion to lightning, which should be pretty cool. If we look at the scaling tags, we have physical, throwing attack, and dexterity. Damage per second is 58. Well, if we change it with this one, we are now doing 85 damage, and you can see that the scaling tag also has been updated to lightning as well, and I like that. It's a bit of quality of life there, but it really helps. I really feel like that is something which is a plus on the side of the developers. We also have some passive skill points. Now I am thinking that steady hand might be the way to go. It gives us a bit more health, and it's offering us plus 4 to dodge for each point of dexterity, but it also adds to the skill of the shuriken. You can see that improved skills that rely on skillful handling of weapons such as flurry and shuriken, and I like that. We could get a bit of attack speed and damage. Maybe we will get that in order to gain a bit more lethal cadence here. Every third melee throwing or bow attack increased damage by 20%. I think that is important. I don't think we're going to go with Guile, but for now, let's just invest 1 point in Swift Assassin and 1 in Steady Hand, and that should be good enough for the moment. We're also going to go into dual wielding. I want that extra damage, and I think it's going to be pretty important or pretty powerful once we're getting a secondary weapon. If we can get ourselves some extra lightning damage, maybe some extra stun attacks, things like that, then it might work well. We're doing throwing damage, so I don't know how well it will work. We have a 49% chance to do stun damage, but only when we're using melee attacks, so that is not actually the perfect situation there. I also threw in the boots. You already know them. It provides us with speed, with some haste, extra dodge when we are getting hit, and reduce damage when we are moving. So those are pretty good boots for level ups, and I feel like it's especially good for this class since we are focusing a lot on the dodge. And that's about it. I guess for the moment I'm just gonna keep leveling up. I'll see you guys around level 10 for the next step, probably. Something like that.
Easy. Too easy.
Here we are at level 10, where we can get our first power boost by investing some of our skill points. For the shuriken, I've invested 3 points in attack speed in order to unlock Fan of Blades, which will increase our shurikens by 2. We have 3 as the baseline, and we get now another 2, that's 5. And we will go also up here, where we have a chance to throw many additional shurikens with each throw, that's another plus 4. Will bring us to 9, that is pretty good. But for now, I'm going to invest a point over here, getting additional shuriken plus 2. And then I'm going to go up here, Ethereal Blades. I feel like this is pretty important if you go with shurikens. Shurikens have a chance to pierce enemies by 25%. If we invest 4 points, we'll have a 100% chance to pierce enemies. Many times we see groups of enemies rather than enemies on their own, and having your shuriken stop in the first enemy and not damage the second one can put you many times in a very dangerous situation. So we're gonna go with this. I am not sure exactly at this point how many points I want to invest into this one, but I'll definitely go for at least 50% before anything else. Over on this side, I threw in Shift. The reason why I threw Shift as a specialized skill is that we can go with Sleight of Hand here, where we throw shurikens at nearby enemies after shifting, and that sounds pretty good. Shuriken thrown is plus 1 per point, so at the moment I need to get another point here, where we'll also heal ourselves when we shift, and we can get our first shuriken throw. 5 points, 5 shurikens. I am not sure, but the way it's worded there, it seems like the way it's going to work is that when we do this, it might even target the nearby enemies. So it doesn't have to be necessarily in front of us. It might work even if they are beside us or behind us. We're gonna test it out and we'll see it in practice. I went for Twin Blade here for the dual wielding. Extra damage is very important, I would say. And Steady Hand, because it offers us dexterity, which adds dodge rating, health, and of course the dexterity also adds to shurikens as damage. Look at this. So we're at 142 at this moment, and if we're going to invest another one, it's 145. So this works really well instead of going with any of the other ideas here. I mean, it feels like it adds to everything. And we're gonna keep investing here. And we have another point. I think I'm going to go with this one. Every third melee, throwing, or bow attack deals increased damage by 20%. And I think this works for each shuriken in itself, and that's why I like this a lot. Getting a bit more dodge rating and glancing blow, even 3% might be important. We don't have enough investment for agility. We're gonna go with this for now. Maybe I should go with 100% with the 100% chance to do, or no, 100% more damage, right? Yeah, it's always on the third attack. We're just increasing it by 20% at the moment, so we should go with 100% to do 100% more damage. I think I want to go for that full investment at the moment. You can see that damage is pretty good. Those critical strikes bring us to 200 damage, and 200 damage this early on is really good at this moment. You know when that third attack comes in, if you look down here at the bottom, as you can see there's a counter there, and every third attack disappears, it means it has been consumed. In Lost Ark, there are many opportunities for you to see and figure out where you stand with all of your skills. I like how that looks. I feel it's so, they're doing such a good job at keeping you informed in a way which is easy to follow. Path of Exile also shows you some of the stuff that you have, but they're up here and you cannot customize the UI. I feel like many times I'm not really paying attention at the top. I don't know how cursed I am or what's my situation. I wish some things would improve in Map of Exile, to be honest, but there we go. So now I went with increased damage on our third attack, another 20% there. And I've also invested now in extra piercing. Now there's a 50% chance that we will pierce through the enemies. I feel like that is good enough for the moment. I don't think, actually I don't think. I don't want to invest any more at the moment. Investing to more than 50% would make sense only towards the end. At some point when I feel like I have my build complete with all the modifiers that I want, all the extra damage and all that, maybe it's at that point that I say, okay, I also want 100% pierce chance because it makes sense. I don't have anything to spend the points on, or maybe it makes sense because mobs aren't being easily cleared.
Yes.
Weirdly enough,
Try not to
the
hurt yourself.
way that I'm thinking about piercing, and maybe this is information which you find important as well, is that once you get to 50%, there's no way to decrease that. There is nothing about the enemy which reduces the chance that you will pierce through them. So with this in mind, there's really no point in investing more in that. So let's see if we throw a shuriken like this. Okay, there was an enemy there. What if we do here? Okay, so shift only throws shurikens in front. It seemed to me like that was the case. Oh no, it actually shoots to the side as well. It picked the target very differently. Okay, well, we can go further in this. Oh, that works. Now if we can get a few more shurikens there with shift as well, that is going to be absolutely awesome for us. It's going to get all the modifiers, or most of the modifiers that we're also getting with the shurikens themselves, so all the extra damage and things like that will add up. The number of shurikens are not getting multiplied just because the skill in itself says that it's increasing the shuriken thrown per each point invested. So there's a limiting factor there. I guess otherwise it would be a bit overpowered. Like if you could invest in shuriken and just do this, you would just decrease the cooldown of this skill, shifting skill, and you would go wild, right? You wouldn't have to sit still, you would just spin around enemies. I guess that would be a bit too much. Throw 9 shurikens with the movement skill. But it's still good. I'll maximize it. We're gonna keep throwing those shurikens. And I will probably go with the one which throws it in a circle rather than an arc. Although throwing 5 shurikens like this is amazing. Throwing 9 shurikens like that when we're going to get to it, it's going to be even better. Like imagine 9 shurikens. Throwing 9 shurikens in a circle doesn't feel as exciting now, does it? It feels like it's too little, I guess. That's just what it is. Not good enough. It won't damage enough enemies. I think you would want to have the circle shuriken just in the situation of trying to clear, doing a bit of AoE, but not more than that. We're gonna fight this boss here. I think there is a boss which spawns in that area, if I remember correctly. And we're gonna fight the boss, and then I'm gonna put an undercut, and we're going to return. We might return when we're getting the Falcon. I don't know if there's a lot to show at this point. I'm just gonna keep investing in throwing more shurikens, and that's about it. So I feel like that is where the appropriate time would be at.
Only a little longer.
One thing I found about this boss is that you can get him easy with the Elder there. So this allows you to clear it like this. If you didn't know about this trick, now you know. I'm sure this is going to get fixed in the future in a way that the bosses will not be attracted by this.
I'll be right behind you.
But I'm also thinking that maybe this is still a sort of a tutorial area, so maybe they intentionally made it like that. Either way, I'll put the card in here and we'll return next time when there's something. When there's something to show, or when we're picking the Falconry mastery, and that might be the best time to do it. Who knows? We'll see. See you in a second. Falconer, a master tactician who employs deceptive traps and a fearsome bird of prey to gain an advantage against her enemies. We get plus 12 to dexterity, which is absolutely great for our shurikens. We start at 158 damage. We'll take a look here in a second to see how much that adds to us. Plus 1 falcon melee damage per 4 dexterity, so that's pretty good. We're getting falconry here as a skill. Now we're at 194 damage. That is a really nice increase, and the amazing thing is that the falcon itself is going to get even more damage because we have invested passive skill points over here into steady hand. So that was a good investment overall. I took some extra damage while dual wielding and extra dodge rating while dual wielding. I also took 1 point here in sapping strikes, getting some health and mana. I could get a bit more critical strike chance per dagger here. We would get a 16% chance at this moment, which, you know, something to be said about that. Could be very valuable, I would say. And bleed stack on third attack. I'm not really going to focus on bleeds. However, if you're looking here at Falconer, before I start farming a bit more, we could go with Wilderness Scout, health plus 10, dodge rating plus 5 per point, good. Raptor's Wing, you have a chance to gain haste for 2 seconds when you or your falcon hits an enemy. Additionally, you deal more damage while you have haste. Okay, it's a bit of a percentage. 2 seconds is not that much. I don't know if I want to invest in that. Or we could go with Handler, increase minion damage by 7% per point. That could be really nice. Also affects our Ballista. If we invest 5 points, your Falcon and Ballistas have additional crit chance. That is pretty good. I think because for now I'm just leveling up, I don't have enough points to spend over there. We should be getting some critical strike chance per dagger, right? That would put us right now at... it's 9%, but I think this is only from the equipment we have right now. Yes, it updated. Now we're at 10%. Okay. I mean, it's not a huge increase. I don't know if it's going to update even more, or maybe it's per weapon. But there we have it. I'm going to farm more now. I'll see you guys on level 20. I think that is a good opportunity to actually try this out. We're gonna have leveled up the Falcon as well, and I really feel like it's going to look a bit more cool and get us a better idea of what it has to offer rather than spending time now. So see you in a second. We're now at level 21, and you really need to see this eagle. It's probably one of the best companions I've ever played with. Definitely somewhere top 3. Never had one of these. It almost feels like you have a pet with you, but it's really aggressive, it's really strong. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. And I'm very curious to see how the other minions builds play, like the Necromancer and things like that. But you really have to see this. I mean, even if I leave the eagle alone, you can see it's doing pretty good damage with each attack. We also have these Falcon Strikes. Once we have activated it, we've summoned the eagle, we can do those rapid strikes and it attacks everything it can see in its sight very quickly. So yeah, really good. You really need to try this class out, no matter what. We're gonna upgrade it in a second here, so that would be very exciting. You can hear the enthusiasm in my voice. I didn't think I would enjoy it this much. I didn't think that it would be this impressive to play with it. But they've done a really good job here. Maybe it's just because of the speed. It has good power, but we've seen other pets in a lot of games, even in World of Warcraft and things like that, having power. But the attack speed is definitely something else. And also the targeting, I could say. But let's upgrade it. Let's invade some points into it. As far as armor goes, I don't really have a whole lot. I threw in these gloves which I found along the way while fighting a magician. Nothing too over the top crazy. But there's one thing or one downside that I have at the moment. Because I have this armor which gives us 11 lightning damage with shurikens and also converts 76% of our physical damage to lightning, it's a bit hard to replace with another armor, even though the other armors might be so much better. I mean, we would go from 197 damage for shurikens to 142. That 50 damage loss, pretty high. So I'll stay with this for as long as I can. You can definitely craft that modifier. It's not unique, but it's very rare to find one of these stones which provide us with a bonus like this. So it's not for early game, definitely. Maybe late game might be better. Let's see, passive skill points. Let's look at the Falconer here. Wilderness Scout, health plus 10, dodge rating plus 5. Raptor's Wing, you have a chance to gain haste for 2 seconds when you or your falcon hits an enemy. I like that. Additionally, you deal more damage while you have haste. And Handler, increase your minion damage by 7% per point, and once we invest 5 points, we get another 5% to Falcon's crit chance. So I'm going to go with a point here for the haste, and I am going to invest 5 points over here just to get that crit going. And that's about it. We also have now explosive traps. Throw a trap that explodes when triggered, dealing throwing fire damage. Traps take 0.4 seconds to arm and explode when enemies walk over them or after 30 seconds. You can have a maximum of 6 traps. Pretty good. A falcon summons a falcon that fights with you, and we can do falcon strike, which rapidly hits many enemies in target area. Sure, let's just take a look at the trap. I'm using more decoy than smoke bombs with this idea. Okay, so we just throw it and it arms itself after 6 seconds. This is actually really good. This could work without us being disruptive. Can we also throw it while we move? No, we have to stop for it. Good. Well, as far as active skill goes, I've already invested over here, the 50% pierce chance. And we're going in this direction just because I want the 50% chance to throw 4 more additional shurikens. And I'm going to take this path rather than investing in poison. I really don't want to invest 2 points there. We're going to go with the points here. Penetrates enemy physical resistance. We can get another 20% chance to bleed. It's not what we are investing in, but we really need to throw a point there. And now we can get the flip of a coin, and I think like that is really good as far as power goes. And now I want to go down here just to get a bit more lightning damage. So charge steel, shurikens deal additional lightning damage, and a percentage of its base physical damage is converted to lightning. Pretty much what we're doing with the armor. And it scales with lightning damage. Shurikens gain lightning tag, which converts above 100%. Conversion above 100% has no effect. I don't know what that extra info is for. If all base damage is converted, it loses its physical tag. I see, but it doesn't go above 100%. Sure, we're gonna start investing here, and then we're gonna get shurikens shock enemies on hit, which increases the chance to stun enemies while also reducing their lightning resistance. And it can stack up, and that's really nice. Over on this side with shift, until this point, I invested all 5 points into shuriken thrown, right? Every time we do a shift, we throw 5 shurikens, and that's really nice. We're gonna head this way now to get the cleanse elements, so that's the next step. As far as the falcon goes though, let's see, we can invest in Falconer's Mark. Whenever the falcon hits an enemy with falcon strikes, it marks them. Your next hit against the marked target deals more damage and consumes the mark, 50% more damage. For bosses, this is really good. Falconer's Journey, your falcon deals more global damage per character level and per point of dexterity. How much are we doing now? It doesn't really say. Does it say in the main skill? No, it does not. That is a bit unfortunate. I guess we could look here in the minion panel, right? But it doesn't say anything about flat damage or anything like that. A bit unfortunate, but what can you do? But I am going to do this because we do have a lot of dexterity, so I feel like this works really well. I'm also going to invest a point here with the mark. We could go over here, Falcon Strikes, hits additional times, and your Falcon has increased melee attack speed. That could work well. Side by side, when you directly use a melee throwing or bow attack and hit at least one enemy, you reduce a portion of the Falconer's strike's remaining cooldown. Okay. We have ailments over here. Prioritizes close to recent targets. Falcon chance to inflict Falconer's mark 20% per point. Okay. Avian Arsenal. When you consume a Falconer's mark, your Falcon gains additional melee damage equal to a portion of your added melee damage, throwing damage, bow damage, or spell damage, depending on the type of ability you use to consume the mark. This effect lasts 10 seconds and it can stack up to 10 times. That's a lot more damage. So yeah, let's go here. Then we have one more point. We could gain some mana and some health, additional strikes with Falcon Strikes. Wake of Wings, when you consume a Falconer's mark, you gain Falconer's Wake buff for a short duration. The buff grants increased movement speed, attack speed, and cast speed. 15% increased movement speed and 15% increased attack and cast speed. Yes. Yes. We can increase the buff duration. Consuming a Falconer's mark instantly recovers Falconer's strike cooldown, but it now costs an additional mana. Could be. I'm not really using a lot of mana. But now let's see it in action in an upgraded form. I really am impressed with the Falconer. And I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. I like minion builds, but I don't really... It's not necessarily that I don't like, but I don't... It's not on my top list to have a companion, right? To have something like only one bear or one wolf, or... Somehow I like the massive. But in this game, I like it because the Falconer is quite quick, quite strong, it's moving quickly. You can see there that he's doing some criticals at around 382, while I'm doing criticals at, what is it, 140? I guess we have some extra damage on our third attack, so yeah, I saw 480 there and it was actually from us. Look at this with the shurikens. That 50% chance at the attack speed, that 50% chance to throw 4 extra shurikens at the attack speed that we have right now is really useful, it's really strong. And we're also throwing shurikens whenever I'm doing the shift. So overall, this Ija build idea is starting to look quite nice. Because the Falconer is so effective, I really don't feel bad about the build at all. Or about the class. I have to leave the house as soon as this episode is over. And I don't wanna. I just wanna keep doing this. And then we're gonna record one more episode. I'll be farming around and record one more episode, and then I have to move on to the next class. It's like, this is starting to be so difficult. It's like I am getting really excited with some of these classes. Up to this point, I want to make a two-handed fire damage paladin. That's something that I have in mind with that unique item, that unique piece that we found in the first day. I definitely want to get back to Void Knight as well. The Forge Guard, at least as a throwing field, not exactly what I have in mind. I mean, it's not the most exciting, but I did like the minions there as well, so probably by changing it around just a tiny bit, probably going with more of a shield and melee attack with the extra minions from the Force Guard. I think that is more of my taste. I feel like that is closer to where I like to play, my play style. And thus, that idea didn't turn out perfectly, or like I imagined it to be. When it comes to these, the rogue class, the marksman, the marksman was too plain, was just too plain. I don't feel like I've done a good job there. I mean, I've upgraded it in a way where we're doing full bow attacks, and then we're also triggering another bow attack which has sort of a cone attack and pushes enemies back. So we have done something there which was functional, I guess is the right word, but it wasn't special enough. I definitely feel like somewhere in there I have more creativity to look at that idea and try to build something else. And one idea which I had was to think about maybe throwing damage, or maybe even try to do a melee attacker with marksman, because there were certain modifier or certain skills in the marksman set that didn't say that you have to use a bow. So actually the, what was it, dark arrows or whatever, that rain of arrows which you had to collect for extra damage was, I'm trying to figure out how it was set, what it was called, or what was the exact description. But basically we shot some arrows in the air, and wherever they fell, if we collected them, we got some extra buff or damage. And I believe that in that particular instance, the damage was also, there were modifiers which applied to melee damage. And I'm thinking that maybe I want to try an idea like that in the future, even though it sounds really, really dumb. But I want to try something a bit more unique with the marksman, because it feels like this game has a lot of potential to give you plenty of ideas, which at least you should try out. They might not work really well, but you should try them out. And as far as the Blade Dancer go, in the bonus episode, that extra episode which I've done, where I fully committed to respecing into the advanced skill that the Blade Dancer offers, I liked where it was going. I feel like I would go further with that as well. So the classes which I'm mostly looking forward to returning is the Paladin with the two-handed mace with a lot of fire damage. The Blade Dancer, I think, is the next one actually that I want to return to, because that felt really cool as well. And the Falconer. The Falconer is definitely at very close to the top. It's definitely something which I'm really looking forward to returning. I'm very enthusiastic about it. I like how it plays. I want to see more of this. And we have a few upgrade points. Let's throw them in and get to the end of this level over here. Feed that boss, and we'll call it a day while I farm a bit more later. So for the Falcon, I'm going to increase the buff duration by 2 points, right? Just to have that extra 2 seconds. Seconds is good enough, I would say. Over on this side, with the shurikens, improve shurikens base critical chance, and shurikens deal more hit damage. 1% increased critical strike chance is not that great. 7% more damage, that's pretty good. Critical multiplier, given that we're constantly doing criticals every third attack, this might actually work well for us. But I guess lightning is first priority. Yeah, lightning, shock chance, maybe speed and range might be actually better than this. I think that is the way, right? Lightning damage, shock, speed, and range, because it's going to help us a lot. Then we're gonna get some critical multiplier, or maybe even pierce chance, try to increase that to a maximum. And let's also look at the passive skills which we've got. A new set, Outlander's Tenacity, you have additional dodge rating and you gain a portion of your maximum health as endurance threshold if you have not been hit recently. We don't get hit. Don't really get hit with this build. Maybe we want to invest in here. Agile Hunt, your Falcon deals, we get 1 dexterity per point, and your Falcon deals additional throwing damage per point of your dexterity. But is the Falcon doing throwing damage, or do we need a special skill which does that? Let's throwing. Go for throwing here. Okay, there is a bit of your Falcon now heavily prioritizes enemies close to the target. Okay, no. A portion of your global throwing attack speed now applies to the Falcon's Feather Knives ability as increased cooldown recovery. So Feather Knives, this one turns... Your Falcon now uses Feather Knives at nearby enemies. This effect has 10 seconds cooldown. Your Falcon also throws a single Feather Knife whenever you consume Falconer's Mark. Okay. I see. A portion of the highest of your global increased melee damage, increased throwing damage, and increased bow damage now apply to your Falcon's damage. Yeah, we like that as well. Yeah. Let's go down here. Yeah, we're gonna go down here to train to hunt. I don't know, I find this very interesting, but that modifier to ranged attacks doesn't seem that. Crimson Skies, you have a chance to gain a stack of Crimson Shroud when your Falcon or Ballista hit an enemy. You gain 50% bleed chance and 5% less damage taken over time. These stacks up to 3 times. You know what? I'll get one of those. Because if you can reduce some of the damage over time, that would be great. The poison, we know that the poison damage is pretty bad. Okay, it's a book here, it's not a boss. Well, we have at least this golem to take it out. Oops. Falcon Strike for the win. But there we go. This is what we have right now with the Falcon, and I absolutely love it, I have to say. We are going to return in the next episode, and I'll be at around level 35 because I want to see this in action. I want to see us upgrading the Falcon to a point where we can truly see strength, and the throwing damage that we're running with should be pretty strong and pretty impressive to run with. But with that in mind, hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next episode.